The first thing we see is the cell membrane. Much like the firewall software on your computer, the membrane contains protein gatekeepers, allowing only those components into the cell that belong and rejects all other components. Once we pass through this membrane, we see the organelles, or the organs of the cell. Ribosomes are the computer-controlled protein manufacturers of the cell. By fastening to an mRNA and using it as a template, the ribosome arranges amino acids in the correct sequence to form a particular protein. This process is known as translation. Golgi body. Next, we find a Golgi apparatus, also known as a Golgi body. Found in both plant and animal cells, Golgi bodies package and store proteins. Much like a post office, the Golgi packages and labels items, which it then sends to different parts of the cell. It's composed of membrane-bound stacks known as cisternae. Each cisterna is made up of a flattened membrane disc, and its primary job is to modify proteins, but it's also involved in the transport of lipids around the cell and the creation of lysosomes. Lysosomes. Lysosomes are spherical organelles which dispose of all the waste in the cell. These tiny organelles contain acid hydrolase enzymes that break up waste materials and cellular debris. The membrane around the lysosome allows the digestive enzymes to work at the 4.5 pH they require to break down the debris and dispose of it. Without the lysosomes, the cell would become overwhelmed with debris and ultimately self-destruct. Mitochondria. Mitochondria are the power plants of the cell, generating most of the cellular energy known as adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. In addition to supplying ATP, mitochondria are involved in a range of other processes, such as signaling, cellular differentiation, cell death, the control of the cell cycle, and cell growth. Nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of a cell. This is where we find most of the DNA which contains the instructions needed to create other elements of the cells. Like the motherboard of a computer controlling its components, the nucleus directs the growth, metabolism, and reproduction of the cell, among other things.
Life requires fully functional DNA, RNA, ATP, enzymes, and other proteins. If any of those components were missing or not working properly, life would fail to exist. This continues to generate several unanswered questions. How could non-living material develop the hardware and software known to be required by all living organisms? How did nature develop the arbitrary protocols for communication and coordination among the thousands of computers in each cell? These kinds of questions lead to interesting discussions among scientists. Those who adhere to a purely naturalistic explanation for the existence of life are left struggling to find mechanisms to create such a sophisticated information source. In any case, the existence of life is indeed a mystery, and it's an exciting topic for discussion, one which should encourage critical thinking. Let's examine what DNA is and how it works to better understand how information is used in the cell.